Hello, everyone. My name is Martha, and I am an artist. I have a studio in a neighborhood surrounded by high-rise buildings. This studio is my refuge. Here, I felt truly alive, losing myself in the world of colors and forms. Walking in through the door was my husband, Charlie. His tall frame barely fit through the doorway. His dark hair was a mess, probably from running his fingers through it all day at work, but his bright blue eyes always had a hint of mischief. "Hey," he said with a tired smile, dropping his briefcase by the door. "How was your day?" I sighed, looking over at a particular canvas. "It was good, but I'm struggling with this piece. I can't seem to get it right." Charlie walked over, taking a closer look. "I think it's great," he said, trying to be supportive. "But what do I know? I can barely draw a stick figure." I chuckled. "Thanks for trying to make me feel better." Before we could continue, the sharp ring of the phone interrupted us. I picked it up, already dreading the voice I'd hear. Sure enough, it was Eleanor, my mother-in-law. "Hello, Martha," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "How are you?" "I'm fine, Eleanor. What can I do for you?" I replied, trying to keep the annoyance out of my voice. "I just wanted to see how my son is doing," she said. "Is he there?" Charlie gestured for the phone, mouthing, "I'll handle it," before handing it over. I couldn't resist a little jab. "He's here, and he's great. He always enjoys coming home to a supportive environment." There was a pause on the other end. "Well," she finally responded, "just make sure he stays that way. Put him on." Charlie took the phone from me, shooting me a look that said, "Please don't start." "Hi, Mom," he began, and I tuned out the rest of their conversation, turning my attention back to my painting. After hanging up, Charlie turned to me. "She's coming over tomorrow." I groaned. "Why? Does she need more ammunition to mock my art?" Charlie put his arm around me. "I'll talk to her, okay? Just try to be civil." The next day, Eleanor arrived, and her entrance was as grand as always. Tall with striking gray hair, she had an air of superiority that she wore like a second skin. "Hello, Martha," she said, scanning the room with disdain. "Hello, Eleanor," I responded, gritting my teeth. Her eyes settled on my latest work. "What's this?" she asked, pointing at it. "It looks like a child's mess." I clenched my fists, trying to stay calm. "It's a work in progress." Eleanor smirked. "Isn't everything here? I don't know why Charlie supports this hobby of yours." "It's not a hobby," I retorted. "It's my passion." Charlie walked in, sensing the tension. "Ladies, can we please not do this today?" Eleanor scoffed. "I just don't see why you waste your time, Martha. My son deserves better." With that, she turned and left the room. I sank into a chair, feeling deflated. Charlie sat next to me, squeezing my hand. "Ignore her, okay? Your art is amazing." I looked into his eyes, feeling grateful for his support. "Thanks," I whispered. Life with Eleanor was like navigating a field of landmines. Every interaction was a potential explosion, and most days I felt emotionally drained by her constant jabs. Her favorite topic, of course, was my art. She never passed up an opportunity to belittle it or ridicule me. One Sunday afternoon, Charlie and I were in our living room. The sunlight streamed through our window, casting a warm glow across the room. I was sketching a new idea while Charlie read a book. The peaceful moment was interrupted by a knock at the door. "I'll get it," Charlie said, setting his book down. He opened the door to reveal Eleanor holding a pie. "I was in the neighborhood," she began, a hint of a smile on her lips. "Thought I'd drop by." "Thanks, Mom," Charlie replied, taking the pie from her. "Come on in." I forced a smile. "Hello, Eleanor." She scanned the room, her gaze stopping at my sketchbook. "More scribbles, Martha?" "It's a concept sketch," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Eleanor smirked. "I'll never understand modern art. It all looks so pointless." Charlie intervened. "Mom, can you please be respectful?" She shrugged. "I'm just giving my opinion." "I didn't ask for it," I retorted. Eleanor leaned in closer, her voice dripping with condescension. "I just worry about Charlie." What kind of future will he have with a wife who spends her time drawing? Whatever this is. Charlie stood up, placing himself between Eleanor and me. Enough, Mom. Martha's work is important. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's worthless. Eleanor feigned surprise. I'm just concerned for my son. I stood up, and I'm concerned for my mental well-being. I don't need your negativity. Eleanor huffed. Fine, I'll leave. As she made her way to the door, she stopped and turned. One day, Charlie will see you for who you truly are. I watched as she left, trying to shake off the weight of her words. Charlie wrapped his arm around my shoulder. I'm sorry about her. I sighed. It's not your fault. I just wish she could see that there's value in what I do. Charlie smiled. She may never see it, but I do, and I'll always be here to support you. The days following Eleanor's visit were tense. I found solace in my art, pouring all my emotions onto the canvas. Charlie watched me work, always encouraging, always there. One evening, as the sun began to set, painting our room in hues of gold and crimson, my phone buzzed on the table. An unknown number flashed across the screen. Picking it up, I hesitated for a moment. Hello. The voice on the other end was soft and pleasant. Is this Martha? Yes, speaking. Hello, Martha. My name is Nora. I'm with the Ashton Art Gallery. We came across your work online and are very impressed. I blinked in surprise. The Ashton Art Gallery was one of the premier spots for modern art in the city. Really, was all I could manage. Nora chuckled. Yes, really, we'd like to meet and discuss a potential exhibition. A wave of emotion washed over me. I'd love to. Great, Nora continued. How about this Friday at 3 p.m.? That works for me. Perfect. See you then, and Martha, keep doing what you're doing. Your art is truly special. Hanging up, I turned to Charlie, my face beaming. You won't believe who that was. He looked up curious. Who? The Ashton Art Gallery. They want to discuss an exhibition for my paintings. Charlie's eyes widened in surprise, and he pulled me into a hug. That's amazing. I knew they'd notice your talent. I laughed. I still can't believe it. He pulled back, his face serious. You deserve this, Martha. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The news was like a shot of energy. I spent the next few days preparing, researching the gallery, and planning which pieces to discuss. The day of the meeting arrived, and I dressed carefully, choosing a simple but professional outfit. As I was about to leave, the phone rang again. Hesitating for a moment, I answered, Hello. It was Eleanor. Martha, she began, her tone different than usual, almost jealous. I heard about the gallery. I was taken aback. Yes, it's true. She scoffed. We'll see how long that lasts. Resisting the urge to snap back, I replied calmly, Thanks for the encouragement, Eleanor. She hung up without another word. Charlie walked over, hearing the tail end of the conversation. Don't let her get to you. Today's your day. I nodded, taking a deep breath. You're right. Let's go. Walking into the Ashton Art Gallery, I was taken aback by its sheer grandeur. Walls adorned with vibrant paintings, sculptures strategically placed, and the subtle hum of quiet conversations filled the air. Nora, a tall woman with short curly hair, greeted us with a warm smile. Martha, so good to meet you, she said, extending her hand. I shook it, my nerves still tingling. Thank you for having me. Nora led us through the gallery, pointing out specific spots where she envisioned my paintings. Your work, she began, has this raw energy that we believe our audience will resonate with. I looked at Charlie, who gave me an encouraging nod. Thank you, Nora. That means a lot. She smiled. Now let's discuss the specifics. We were thinking of dedicating an entire section to your work for the upcoming exhibit. That sounds incredible, I replied. Nora handed me a folder. Here's a layout of the gallery and a tentative schedule. We need your pieces here by next month. I flipped through the pages, trying to mask my excitement. This is thorough. I'll get started right away. The rest of the meeting was a whirlwind of discussions, from lighting preferences to wall colors. By the end, my head was spinning, but in the best possible way. As Charlie and I walked back to our car, he turned to me, his eyes gleaming. "You did it!" I laughed. "We did it. I couldn't have done this without you." He grinned. "Now comes the hard part, selecting and preparing your pieces." Over the next few weeks, our apartment turned into a hive of activity. I was in the zone, finalizing paintings, choosing frames, and coordinating with the gallery. Every surface was covered with art supplies and sketches. One evening, while I was working on a particularly intricate piece, the doorbell rang. Charlie went to answer it, and moments later he returned with a familiar face. "Eleanor," I said, surprised. She looked around, taking in the chaos. "So this is what preparation looks like." I hesitated for a moment, then replied, "Yes, it's a lot of work." Eleanor's eyes landed on a painting I had just finished. "This one's different." I walked over. "It's a new direction I'm trying." She studied it for a moment, her expression unreadable. "It's interesting." Before I could respond, Charlie intervened. "Mom, why are you here?" Eleanor sighed. "I wanted to see what all the fuss was about." I took a deep breath. "I'm proud of my work, Eleanor." She nodded. "It's evident. Well, I should be going." As she left, I felt a mix of emotions. While it wasn't praise, Eleanor's visit wasn't as confrontational as our previous encounters. Charlie wrapped his arm around me. "She's trying in her own way," he said. I smiled weakly. Let's hope. The days flew by, and soon it was time to move the paintings to the gallery. With each piece I packed, I felt a combination of excitement and anxiety. "This is it," I whispered to Charlie as we loaded the last painting into the van. He squeezed my hand. "You're ready, and I can't wait for the world to see your brilliance." The day before the exhibition was a blur of activity. The gallery was bustling with staff setting up lighting, positioning paintings, and ensuring everything was perfect. Charlie and I arrived early, watching in awe as my artwork was given prime positioning. Nora approached us, clipboard in hand. "Martha, it's all coming together wonderfully. Your pieces are truly the highlight." I smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "Thank you, Nora. This means the world to me." She nodded, making a few notes. "The press will be here tomorrow. This is a significant opportunity for you." As the day wore on, I took a moment to sit, absorbing the surroundings. The realization hit me. I was about to have my first major art exhibition. This was a dream come true, and I was overwhelmed with gratitude. Charlie came over, handing me a coffee. Deep in thought, I looked up, smiling, just taking it all in. "It's a lot." He sat down next to me. "You deserve every bit of this, Martha. I'm so proud of you." I leaned into him, grateful for his unwavering support. "Thank you, Charlie." Our moment was interrupted by a call. My phone lit up with an unknown number. Curious, I answered. "Martha," a voice crackled. "Yes, who's this?" There was a pause, then a familiar voice sneered. "It's Eleanor." I stiffened. "What do you want?" She chuckled. "Just wanted to wish you luck for tomorrow." Despite her words, there was an unmistakable tone of mockery. "Thanks," I replied curtly, ready to end the call. But Eleanor continued. "Actually, there's more. I visited your apartment today." My heart sank. "What did you do, Eleanor?" She laughed. "Let's just say I improved a few of your pieces." I felt the blood drain from my face. "You did what?" Eleanor's voice was dripping with malice. "You'll see soon enough." She hung up before I could say anything else. Panicking, I turned to Charlie. "She's been to our apartment. She's done something to my paintings." His face darkened. "Let's go home now." We raced back, anxiety mounting with each passing minute. As we entered our apartment, the devastation was clear. Several of my paintings were destroyed. Splashes of paint, torn canvases, and scribbles marred my artwork. I sank to the floor, tears streaming down my face. How could she? Charlie knelt beside me, equally shocked. We'll get through this, Martha. But amidst the destruction, a realization dawned on me. The best pieces, the ones meant for the exhibition, were already at the gallery. Eleanor had ruined some paintings, yes, but not the ones for the exhibition. A plan formed in my mind. Wiping away my tears, I looked up at Charlie. She thinks she's won, but she hasn't. We have an exhibition tomorrow, and it will be a success. He nodded, determination in his eyes. You're right. Let's focus on that. The date of the exhibition had arrived. I was nervous, but the events of the previous day had given me newfound determination. Charlie looked at me, offering a comforting smile. You ready for this? I took a deep breath, as ready as I'll ever be. The gallery was soon teeming with visitors. Reporters, art enthusiasts, and curious onlookers walked around admiring the pieces. The positive murmurs and appreciative expressions of the crowd boosted my confidence. Nora approached, her face glowing with excitement. Martha, this is beyond expectation. The response is phenomenal. I grinned. Thank you, Nora. It's all thanks to your support. As the day progressed, I was pleasantly surprised to see many familiar faces. Friends, family, and even a few old colleagues came by to show their support. Midway through the exhibition, an elegantly dressed man approached me. Martha, I'm Stephen. I've heard so much about your work, and I must say, it's even better in person. I blushed. Thank you, Stephen. He looked around, his gaze settling on a particularly vibrant piece. This one, I'd like to purchase it. I was taken aback. Really? Stephen nodded. Absolutely. And not just this one. I'd like to buy a few more. I was elated, hardly believing my luck. Charlie joined us, equally thrilled. This is incredible, Martha. As we finalized the details with Stephen, there was a commotion at the entrance. Eleanor had arrived, smugness evident on her face. She walked over, her eyes scanning the gallery. So this is your big day, she said. I met her gaze evenly. Yes, Eleanor, and it's going better than I could have hoped. She smirked. I see. Well, enjoy it while it lasts. Just as I was about to reply, Stephen interjected. You must be the infamous Eleanor. I've heard a lot about you. Eleanor looked him up and down. And who might you be? Stephen extended his hand. Stephen, I've just purchased some of Martha's artwork. Eleanor's smugness faded, replaced by surprise. You bought these? Stephen nodded. Yes, and I must say they're some of the best pieces I've seen in a long time. Eleanor was at a loss for words. The realization that someone of Stephen's stature admired my work was a hard pill to swallow. I decided it was time to turn the tables. Eleanor, remember those paintings you've improved at our apartment? She raised an eyebrow. What about them? I smiled. Stephen bought those too. Stephen added, and I intend to press charges for the damage to my property. Eleanor paled, her confidence shattered. You can't be serious. Stephen looked at her sternly. I am. I value art, and what you did was criminal. Eleanor looked like she was about to crumble. I didn't know. I stepped forward. Now you do. Maybe you'll think twice before meddling in others' lives. After the whirlwind of Eleanor's confrontation, the gallery buzzed even more. I had to take a moment to breathe and center myself. The sheer number of people attending and the success of the sales was mind-boggling. Charlie came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. How are you holding up? He asked. I leaned into his embrace. Better than I thought. But God, Charlie, the sheer number of people. He chuckled. They're here for you, all for you. Nora sidled up next to us, a glass of champagne in hand. You two are the stars tonight. And Martha, the critics are raving. Taking a sip of her drink, she continued, I've had 3 other gallery owners approach me already, asking about you. The next big thing, they said. I blinked in surprise, struggling to process the information. Really? She nodded, her eyes twinkling. Really? Prepare yourself for a lot more attention after tonight. A familiar voice called out, There's the artist of the evening. I turned to see my old college friend, Emily, striding over with a big smile on her face. Pulling me into a hug, she said, "I always knew you'd make it big, Martha." I laughed. "It's still Martha to you, but thank you, Emily. It's been too long." As the night wore on, I chatted with countless visitors, some who knew about art, some who didn't, and some who just came to show their support. Each interaction was a reminder of the journey I had taken to get here. Around midnight, the crowd began to thin and the gallery's lights dimmed slightly, casting a warm ambient glow over the remaining guests. That's when I noticed a familiar face standing by one of my paintings, studying it intently. "Uncle Jimmy?" I approached hesitantly. We hadn't spoken in years. He turned to me, his eyes slightly moist. "Hello, Martha. It's been a while." Not knowing what to say, I simply replied, "Yes, it has." He looked back at the painting, a piece I had done of our old family home. "This takes me back," he murmured. We talked for a long time, reminiscing about old times and catching up on new ones. The rift that had formed in our family after a dispute over inheritance had kept us apart, but that night, in front of my artwork, barriers were broken. By the time the gallery closed, my feet were sore and my voice was hoarse, but the joy in my heart was unparalleled. Charlie, ever the doting husband, carried some of my stuff as we headed out. As we drove home, he glanced over at me. "You did it, Martha. You proved them all wrong." I leaned my head against the window, the city lights streaming past. "It's just the beginning, Charlie, just the beginning." The sun filtered through the curtains as I sipped my morning coffee. Last night's exhibition success still buzzed in my mind, and the feeling of satisfaction lingered. Charlie was reading the morning paper when the phone rang. Picking up, I was met with a familiar shaky voice. "Martha, it's Eleanor." My guard went up immediately. "What do you want?" "To apologize," she began, desperation evident in her voice. "I've seen the error of my ways, especially after the success of your exhibition." "Why now, after everything?" I asked, my voice icy. "The buyer of the paintings has filed a lawsuit. It's substantial. I was hoping maybe you could talk to him, persuade him to drop the charges." She was almost pleading. I took a deep breath. "You expect me to bail you out after everything you've done?" "I'm genuinely sorry," she insisted. "That might be, but actions have consequences, Eleanor," I responded coldly. "Please, Martha, think about it," she urged before I ended the call. Days later, the court's decision came through. Eleanor was ordered to pay the full cost of the spoiled paintings and a hefty fine for property damage. The verdict didn't surprise me. She had openly admitted to the act after all. Word reached me that Eleanor had tried to appeal for leniency, but to no avail. The damage was done. Soon after, Eleanor ceased all communications with me. The silence was, in many ways, a relief. With her out of the picture, my life regained its balance. My career flourished, and Charlie and I continued to strengthen our bond. The ordeal with Eleanor was a harsh reminder that life was filled with challenges, but also that every cloud had a silver lining.